Welcome to Scoop World on this Thursday night. The coaches from Ohio State are almost home. They are about 80% of the way through the camp season, official visit season. Those guys can almost taste their first beers when they hit their vacations somewhere sunny, somewhere warm with their families before the August two-day grind begins. Big news, we had Bill Green and Joe Dram at camp today. They were killing it coverage-wise. There is a phenom, ladies and gentlemen, 2026 quarterback who stole the show today, was the best player on the field. Better than a couple of high four-star 25 quarterbacks, according to Bill Bank Green. We're going to get into that. We're going to watch his film. Our own Nevada Buck is watching the Elite 11 right in his backyard, right in Redondo Beach. So really excited to get some updates. Aaron Nolan had a fantastic day, day one. It's going to be interesting to see if that momentum and that surge continues and he wins the Elite 11, because it'll be very interesting if Aaron Nolan places higher than Dylan Raiola, who is unanimously rated as the number one quarterback in the 2024 class. But there's going to be a lot of great activity, and we're going to get right into it, and we're going to take your questions. But as always, we are very thankful for you guys, grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for enjoying this content. Please click like. Please also subscribe to the channel. Send this to your friends, relatives, every Ohio State fan you've ever met or ever talked to. They need to watch this podcast, so please send the links along to them. Appreciate you guys. As always, appreciate all your spirit, all your fun that you have in our comment section. You guys leave some hilarious comments, so we appreciate that. As always, shout out where you guys are from. Again, we're getting Florida, we got Australia, we got Georgia, Texas, California. You guys are everywhere. Obviously, a ton of Ohio. Appreciate all my Ohio folks, all my Florida folks. And also, I want to see you comment, will Aaron Nolan finish higher than Dylan Raiola over the next 2 days of the Elite 11? I want you to write yes, no, why, and will there be any other upsets in the Elite 11? Because it seems like it's been a little topsy-turvy so far. One site rated Aaron Nolan as the best quarterback on the field yesterday. So those guys, that's a West Coast event. It happens pretty late at night on the West Coast or for the East Coasters. So it's really exciting content. So we're super excited to see how the guys do today. With that being said, I am going to bring in my favorite person from the left coast, the West Coast, the great Nevada Buck. Nevada, how are you today?
Doing great, man. It's getting ready for an evening session of Elite 11. They kicked him out of Miracosta High School, so I'm having to slug it down another 2 miles to Redondo Union High School. Nice facility. Got a little Elite 11 tonight and Elite 11 tomorrow from 10 to 2. So lots going on with Elite 11 action. Can't wait to see a little more of the Aaron Nolan show. Aaron Nolan definitely stole the show yesterday. Talked to multiple people, from both sides, from the kind of the observer side and from the Elite 11 administration / counselor side, and they all had him right at the top or near the top of the performers for the day, and I think that was a surprise to some people, not a surprise to you and I, because we've been singing his praises for quite some time, but he seems to have taken it up another notch. That big lefty, anytime you see those left-handed quarterbacks just look cooler as far as I'm concerned. The way they spin the ball, it just looks different, and he definitely is a different kind of looking athlete out there, and had a great day yesterday, and looking forward to seeing him tonight.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I know a lot of people were disappointed when Dylan Raiola decommitted. Obviously, his touted, consensus number one player in the country. But, Aaron Nolan statistically had a much better year than Dylan Raiola last year. His high school team won the state championship in Georgia. Dylan Raiola is on his third high school in 3 years in Arizona. Really was underwhelming last year statistically. Again, a guy that can make all the throws, big kid, but eventually you got to put up the stats that match your physical stature, especially when you're playing, like Arizona is not great football. And he played at Chandler last year, which is a humongous high school, like 4,000 or 5,000 kids, open enrollment. Kids can come from an hour away to go to high school there. So you're going to have the biggest and best athletes there. And they still weren't very good. And they got blown out of the playoff game that they lost in the Arizona semifinals. So, I don't know. Like at some point, when you've got a quarterback, you have to produce statistically and you've got to put the numbers up. And Aaron Nolan's numbers from last year were as good as anybody in the country, is given the level of football he played in Georgia. The offense he ran, he's turned to Jelani Thurman, who could be the best tight end prospect we've ever had at Ohio State as a freshman. So, again, I always like to look at, does a guy dominate in the high school level, in the high school ranks, regardless of where he's at, if he's in Arizona, Georgia, Florida, Texas, you have to dominate. I mean, that's the start because, it's a great way to translate. Is he going to be good at Ohio State? Because if a guy's not dominating in high school, I don't know how you expect him to dominate once he goes to a much higher level of competition in Ohio State in the Big Ten, where, the windows are smaller, the DBs are better. The schemes are harder to go against. You're going against, big time coaching. It's tougher to do. But I mean, Air, again, like it's hard to say, will Air end up better than Dylan Raiola? I don't know. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say, yeah. I mean, I know Georgia is really good, and I know Dylan Raiola, is pledged to Georgia. But man, if I'm a quarterback and I can throw to Ennis, Carnell Tate, and I could also throw to JJ Smith, man, like that's my dream. Give me 3 first-round wide receivers. Give me Ryan Day coaching me up every day. Ryan coaches the quarterbacks incredibly hard, very hard on the quarterbacks, but it develops these guys into top 15 picks, 3 in a row, from Haskins Fields to CJ Stroud. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know Georgia, they had Stafford in 2009 a long time ago as a first-round quarterback, but since then, not much. Justin Fields obviously left there. Didn't feel the development was there, was stuck behind a quarterback that, frankly, was nowhere near the talent level that he was. And it worked out great for him at Ohio State. But Nevada, do you think by the end of Sunday night, when everything's wrapping up, will Aaron Noland, between all the sites and the overall projections and the Elite 11 coaches and judges, will he finish ahead of Dylan Raiola by Sunday night?
I think he will. I think he will. I think the way that this thing's setting up right now, I can see him making a big move here in days 2 and 3. The fact that he could stay, close through the first initial testing, first initial, mental acuity tests. I really do. And from the people that I talked to, he's been really, I would say the big story of the Elite 11 thus far. I don't think people had an idea that he was this good. And, I always look at it this way. When you're evaluating quarterbacks, whether it be going from high school to college or from college to pros or whatever it is, the number one thing that I'm looking for is productivity. I'm looking for productivity. Then I'm looking at level of competition, and then I'm looking at all the measurables and all the physical attributes. But if you don't have the productivity, to me that's a knockout. Again, there's always exceptions to that rule, but if I'm evaluating players, that's how I'm evaluating them. And for me, Aaron Noland he checks all those boxes. He's obviously the most productive, quarterback, one of the most productive quarterbacks that we've ever seen. Certainly the most productive quarterback in the history of Georgia football. And then, you've got the level of competition, which is superior, and you've got the physical tools, which they're really not in question. He's got them all. He's a guy that can run, he can throw with touch, he can throw with velocity. I mean, he's got it all. I think one of the questions people had about Aaron Noland coming into yesterday was, is he just a dinker and dunker? Is he just a guy that can kind of go to the first 2 levels, kind of really hit those short passes, hit those intermediate passes, just be a distributor? But I mean, he was banging it to the 3rd level as well. I mean, he can hit the deep shots. Shows he can make all the throws. And to me, he shows he's a complete quarterback. And I think he's going to finish on top, and we'll find out on Sunday.
Honestly, I love his athleticism. Like, he's a guy that can get out and scramble. He could run. Again, we don't need Tommy Frazier. We don't need a guy run the triple option. But a guy that can get out and run is a very stressful deal for a defense. You look at the quarterbacks that got deep into the playoffs, looking at Josh Allen, talking about Pat Mahomes, talking about Jalen Hurts. Those guys can all scramble. I mean, they're not going to have a ton of designed runs. I mean, Jalen Hurts will have some. But those other guys, if it's man coverage and those guys are running off, they're not looking at that quarterback. Pat Mahomes go scramble for 12 yards, get that first down, go get 8, make it 2nd and 2. Again, those are back-breaking things, and he's good at it. They run read option with him. And, when you're at Ohio State and you've got multiple quarterbacks, I mean, let's just go win a game. Like, you got to go beat Michigan, go beat Georgia. I mean, you saw the difference when CJ Stroud decided to run. He shredded Georgia, the number 1 defense in the country, shredded them. Played the game of his life. Played his heart out, should have won that game, should have been a national champion. But it's one of those things where you see the power of it and how overpowered it is when you have a guy who will scramble. Because I mean, if the coordinator knows that you're going to scramble, it changes everything in terms of how you can rush the quarterback. If you're a statue back there, if you're Brady or one of those guys, that is what D linemen dream of, is playing Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe, guys that don't move, they're just statues. They rush the tackle, they rush the guard, they rush the center. They know exactly where you're going to be standing at. They know you're not going to be able to get away from them. That's a dream for D linemen. Now, a kid like this, again, it just adds that extra layer of complexity to the offense when you've got a guy that's willing to run. And again, I was very critical of CJ Stroud because there were times where he would just be scared. He was flat out scared to run. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a stigma thing. He doesn't want to be labeled as a running quarterback. And I dealt with that with Troy Smith, and I love Troy Smith like a brother, but 05, he was all about running. 04 was all about running. 06, he did not want to run. It was that stigma thing. People get in their heads. I think it's stupid because I think if you've got the ability to do something, to go move the chains, go do it. And again, like Troy, he just wasn't running 06. And that was something that, obviously we saw had a really good offense. We had 2 first-round receivers, but that took away an element that is very overpowered in college football and in the QB run, the QB option game. Took some of our plays out of our playbook. We had a Phenom. I got to get the super chat. D Sonny, my man, I appreciate you. We got a quick one. Nevada, I don't know. This goes way back. I assume this is Brady Quinn. Talking about great QBs was Quinn. I assume that's Brady Quinn. Ever close to going to Ohio State, or was that never a conversation? Nevada, do you remember Brady Quinn's recruitment? I do slightly. I was at camp with Brady, that senior advanced camp in 03, or 02, excuse me. But do you remember Brady Quinn's recruitment at all?
No, I do. And, I always felt that there was a real good chance for him to go to Ohio State. But, at the time, when you really look at what Ohio State was doing, at the quarterback position, it wasn't much, and I think that, different times, but I always got the impression that was a close call for him, that he could have gone, to Ohio State and, could have had a terrific career at Ohio State, but, the allure of playing at Notre Dame at the time was just too much to overcome. And, for Brady, look, he made the right choice. AJ Hawk made the right choice, and they ended up brother-in-law. So, I mean, come on, what could be better than that?
Yeah, I think Brady was scared of Justin Zwick, honestly. I think Brady, obviously, is a kid that I was hoping would be in our recruiting class. He's the guy that ended up going to Notre Dame, committed to Ty Willingham. Again, I tell these guys, look, if you're going to commit somewhere, make sure you commit to the school you want to go to, because these coaches get fired. Like Ty Willingham got whacked. Charlie Weiss came in. Brady obviously had a sensational career at Notre Dame, first-round pick to the Browns. Didn't work out in the pros much, but I mean, Brady had all the tools. I mean, we played him in that 05 Fiesta Bowl. I mean, he was the deal, man. He was the bee's knees, and I love BQ. I think we were at Ohio State camp together, at Michigan camp together. It was funny because my former teammate Zach Slates, Brady thought that his uncle was related to Zach because he had a bunch of Slateses that were on his dad's side, and so him and Zach, like we're eating lunch together, and it was kind of like one of those funny things. And I'll never forget, the funniest thing about Brady is, like, we're all at senior advanced camp in 02, and we're all trying to earn offers. And there's some guys that are offered, like Dante Whitner, and some guys that were kind of the made men. But then there were a lot of us that were just trying to win that Ohio State offer. And Brady already had the offer. Brady was like one of the the A-listers of the squad. And I remember he left camp early because he went to a Poison concert. And I was like, you're seriously leaving to watch a Poison concert in the middle of Ohio State camp? But when you already have the offer, you can do whatever you want. You can just show up and go sit in the porta potty all of camp, and the coaches will fawn over you. You don't have to really scrape and claw like a lot of us did. But again, I think really highly of Brady. I was with him in Denver with the Broncos. Like, he's just a great dude, a guy that I've always been real friendly with. So, again, I think it worked out that good thing went to Notre Dame. I think obviously it got amplified a little bit more when Charlie Weiss, because as big of an idiot as Charlie Weiss is, he knows how to coach quarterbacks. He knows how to coach an offense. Developed Brady, Tom Brady. Obviously, that Brady Quinn drafted, in the top 20 or 25 or whatever it was the year that he came out. I believe it was Joe Thomas. And, it's just one of those things where it's, you never know. what could have been. But I do think that the Justin, because Justin Zwick, when Justin came out, man, I mean, people thought he was going to be next. He's going to be our Peyton Manning. He's going to be the Ohio State Peyton Manning. He's going to start as a freshman. He's going to beat out Craig Krenzel. Craig's going to be, off into the ether, and Justin's going to lead us to national championships and Heisman's. And it was funny because it ended up we didn't win the national title, but we got, the national their freshman year, and then Troy won the Heisman. And Troy ended up being the top dog, and Justin was just kind of an afterthought. So, but I do think that, with these quarterbacks, man, they're very conscientious of the depth chart, and we just got a 5-star guy like Justin Zwick in there. People, he don't want any part of that. And I don't blame him, because you go to Notre Dame and he started as a freshman. He didn't really have anyone to beat out. So, speaking of phenoms, and the St. Clair, today at camp, there was a huge duel between Tavion St. Clair and Ryan Montgomery. We had Bill the Bank Green on ground with Joe Drame. They watched it. It's one of those weird things with me with Ryan and Tavion, because they both are offered 2025 guys, but neither have committed. Ryan Montgomery's had his offer since last July or June. I mean, he's had his offer for a long time, and Tavion got offered last month. Tavion seems to be surging right now. Ryan's a guy that, he's been heralded for a long time, and I think that's good and bad. I think sometimes it's bad when you're kind of the guy at the top for a while, because you start to kind of degrade when other guys start to catch up, like Tavion St. Clair has. But Nevada, there was a big duel there today. And then there was a third kid who's a 2026 named Will Griffin, who we're going to break his film down a little bit. But what do you make of the 2025 recruiting deal? Again, I know me and you, there aren't two people on this earth that care less about Ohio State quarterback recruiting than me and you, because we're always going to have a great quarterback starting at Ohio State via the portal, via recruiting, via whatever. But what do you make of the 2025 class? And do you think that Ryan Day doesn't care because he really wants the phenom Bryce Underwood out of Michigan as his 2025 quarterback?
Yeah, it's really kind of an interesting game that you've got going on right now. It seems like you've got Montgomery and St. Clair, who I've got kind of penciled into my class. But the two of them were out there going at it today. And, it's almost like they're kind of playing chicken right now, because if one of them commits, it seemingly closes the door on the other one. And, then you've always got the specter of the big dog in 2025 kind of looming over that one. So, I don't know what to make of it. But, as you said, it's not so, and I know what you're saying. It's not so much that we don't care, but it's more that we have a total confidence in the Ohio State quarterback room. The Ohio State quarterback room right now, is chock full of talent. The future looks chock full of talent. You've got guys kind of loaded up there, and I'm convinced that Ryan Day and this offense is really going to be productive with whomever they've got or whoever they put back there. But right now, you've just got kind of a situation where you've got two guys that are with offers, and neither one was committed. Neither one has taken it yet. And so you have to wonder what else is kind of afoot and what else is kind of going on, what they're trying to figure out, because they know all they need to know about Ohio State. Montgomery's brother plays there. He's been to the campus 15 times. What is he waiting for? It's got to be an outside influence. It's got to be they're trying to wait to see if another 2025 commits, and then who rolls the door, a 2026 who might be better than both the 2025s. So kind of crazy days in the OSU quarterback room.
Yeah, we're going to get into that 26. Will Griffin, again, showed up, 6'3", 220. Started as a freshman at Jesuit in Tampa, Florida. Superstar. You're starting as a freshman in Florida football. You're that dude. And Bill the Bank Green was there. Talked to him before the show. He said that's the guy. He's the guy. And Bill's seen it all quarterback-wise. He watched Bryce Underwood, and he said, that guy's Caleb Williams. That guy's the guy who's a Heisman front runner. He's the guy that, if you got to win a game, man, you want to go get that number one overall superstar quarterback to put you over the top. And Bank thinks that this is the guy. So we're going to tune into his film. Again, his film is from his freshman year, but his highlight video was actually surprisingly long, which is great because it means that he obviously had quite the year. But Nevada, is it ever too early to get excited about a quarterback? 2026, I mean, he's a freshman. Again, it's I don't know. Like it's early in the process, and we've seen guys flame out. People always Danny Clark and the scoffing of young guys, and will he tap out or will he whatever? But is it ever too early to get excited about a quarterback commit?
Well, look, a long way to go till you get a commitment from a kid like this. Everybody in the country is going to be in on him, and he's only going to end up at one spot. And will it be Ohio State? We'll see. But in terms of his ability, I mean, it was on full display today. And when you watch the highlights, you watch this kid, and nothing about him screams freshman. I mean, you look at him physically, you look at it just kind of again, mentally how he's going to work in the field. You look at statistically how productive he was last year, and how he handled the level. Um, Plays way above his years. Doesn't look like any freshman that I've seen for quite some time. And like I said, you flip on the tape, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about because this is a big hoss. That hey, I'm excited about him just because he came to Ohio State. That certainly shows a level of interest, and any quarterback would be silly not to consider Ohio State given Ryan Day's success at the quarterback position.
Yeah, Brass Tacks is one of our regulars. What's up, Paul? Paul's in here. This is an interesting comment. Brass Tacks says Zwick is one of the biggest recruiting busts in Ohio State history. Do you agree with that, Nevada? I'm just curious where you stand with it. I mean, I tend, you come in as a 5-star quarterback who's supposed to be the next Peyton Manning, and you start 4 games and mop up time. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, generally, I always say that you're not a bust if you were injured. Like to me, Greg Oden wasn't a bust because he was injured. So that doesn't even Sam Bowie to me doesn't count as a bust in the NBA draft because he was injured. But I mean, Justin came in with as much hype as any kid that's ever played at Ohio State. I mean, at the time, I can't even imagine what it would have been like with social media and the internet and everything else. I mean, it was big back then, and this was before stuff like this was really big. I mean, this was the biggest recruit that Ohio State had gotten in decades. Huge, huge, huge deal, and just couldn't really play at the level. And it wasn't due to injury, it wasn't anything else. So to me, yeah, fairly or unfairly, um, I think he probably gets that moniker and probably deservedly so. Which doesn't take away from his fantastic high school career or the fact that he was able to play Division I football, which again puts him in the rare air. But in terms of Ohio State, couldn't get it done. So yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, it was. I'll never forget, man. I mean, you were at the '05 Texas game, correct? You were sitting in your box
Yeah.
for that one. And I
Yep.
remember, like, we have that last drive where they take the lead by 1 point, and we've got 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes or whatever it is to go win the game, go get in field goal range. We had Josh Houston who had a decent leg. You could hit from 45, 46, 47 plus. He missed a field goal earlier, but if we get out on field goal range, we have a chance to win the game. And I'm in the TV, it's TV timeout, where it's basically like the guys out on the field, and I walk over to Troy and I say, "Hey, are you up?" Because we were alternating between Justin and Troy the whole game, and he's like, "I don't know." And then I walked over to Justin and I said, "Hey, are you up?" And he's like, "I don't know." And like I'm sitting there, and there's 30 seconds left of this timeout, and neither of the quarterbacks knew who was in. And then, Tress ends up going with Justin, and Justin, catches the ball, scrambles, and fumbles on like the first or second play. And, and Brian Robeson, who I couldn't stand, I hated him. He's such a douchebag. He got it, and he's like dancing around. And I was like, I can't believe we had a chance to win this game. And that's what happened. We scrambled out and fumbled the ball. But it was really interesting because like I couldn't believe that neither of our quarterbacks had any idea who was in the game. Like a minute before we were about to go on, we're playing the number 1 team in the country, biggest drive in the world. So that was interesting. And then like we put Troy in for like the last drive, and he gets sacked for a safety. So that's why it ended up, I think it was like 25-22 or some weird score like that, like a scoregami kind of score. You've never seen in many 25-22 games, but it was weird because a lot of people, that Hamby drop was like, oh, that's why he never made it. But like we gave him a shot at the end of that Texas game, and he fumbled. He scrambled. There wasn't a lot of pressure. He scrambled out, and it was a good scramble. But then he dropped the ball on the ground, and then Texas gets the ball, and they milked the clock down, and and our defense played. as good of a game as I've ever seen in the history of Ohio State football. I mean, our defense was unbelievable that night, and we just completely, offensively, we just sucked, and we totally let them down. We kicked 5 field goals. Again, there's times where, I mean, I'll openly say when we sucked as an offense, and that night we sucked. I mean, AJ Hawk played probably the greatest game I've ever seen by a defensive player. He was like absolute insanity mode that night. And like our guys balled out against Vince Young. And yeah, that team ended up winning the national title. They scored way more points against SC than they did against us. And, I still feel bad that we let the defense down like we did, because that was like a common theme when I played, is like our defensive ball, we'd stink and we'd win by like 3 points or whatever. But like, I still feel bad for that one. But, we're going to get some Will Griffin. Bill the Bank Green predicted he would get offered after watching him throw. He did get offered by Ryan Day. So we're going to toss his film on. We also have an interview on BuckeyeScoop.com. Will Griffin, again, this kid is an absolute freak of nature, a phenom, the kind of kid that you really, we need to get in our class. So here's his film. Big kid, and again, he's a freshman at this time, Lazar. So he's probably gained 30 pounds, grown another 1.5 to 2 inches. Again, when these kids are 14, 15 years old playing varsity football, they've got a lot of upside. But I mean, you see this kid drop it in the bucket. Again, I don't know the level of competition. I've never heard of this small Tampa school, but 6'3", 220, and right next to Savion St. Clair, right next to Ryan Montgomery. And Banks said he was the best guy out of all of them. Even the guys that are significantly older, they've had significantly more time in training. Those guys both have swing coaches, throw coaches that they work with every weekend. And this kid's the best one. And he's a year younger. So something to be excited about. Again, I never count Ryan Day out of any national quarterback deal, because, these parents know that the game of quarterback is such a high stakes game in modern football, given the potential to go to the NFL, the potential to go first round, the potential to get that second contract. Joe Burrow was about to sign for $60 million a year for the Bengals. I mean, it's big time ball. So you don't worry about, oh, well, he won't be as close to home for mommy and daddy. Oh, like if my kid's this kid, he's going to Ryan Day or he's going to Lincoln Riley, and that's it, period, end. Because I know that those guys, they look at their track record of developing these first round picks, these Heisman Trophy winners, those kids getting paid, those guys getting second deals. Like, those are the guys I'm looking at. But Nevada, what do you think? I mean, again, this kid's 14 years old throwing it like this. And, and I mean, this is Friday Night Lights. This isn't Saturday morning JV football. Like I've had to watch JV football for kids this young before, and this ain't no JV football. And, again, I don't know how good these teams are going against. I don't think that this is super high level South Florida football, being up in Tampa, but what do you think so far?
Well, again, here's the thing. We don't have to guess. I mean, he was right there next to, St. Clair Montgomery today, and got a chance to see how they throw the football, how they move, how they do it. And, Bill, who I've got immense respect for, was like immediately called it, just like, hey, the ball just comes out of the hand better. The ball placement is better. The velocity is better. The accuracy is better. This kid's, he's right there on par or not better than 2 of our 2025 commits. So that's all that I have to know about his ability as a 2026. He's clearly a baller. Like, for us, it's just going to be a question of, how do you get a kid like this? I mean, Tampa's not the deep South, and he's not a deep South kind of kid, but everybody's going to be on him. Everybody's going to be coming after him. And the OSU quarterback room's getting a little crowded, and could get a little bit more crowded with Underwood. So, you're going to have to do a heck of a sales job, but if anybody can do it, it'll be Ryan Day.
Yeah, and we've had some success in Tampa. I believe Michael Jenkins is from Tampa. Like again, Tampa it's way different than South Florida, than that southeast Miami area. But again, we've had really good success at out of both of these, and I think Jangalang, who I love to death, Mike Jenkins, yeah, he was a Tampa guy, and he was a guy that we had fantastic, obviously one of the most prolific receivers in Ohio State history. I don't know if I put him on my Mount Rushmore as much as I love him, because I mean, getting on the Mount Rushmore as a receiver at Ohio State is almost impossible, picking the top 4. And Mike's the guy who's had maybe the most memorable catch, Holy Buckeye, and again, because our offense was so putrid back then that it's like to complete like a 20-yard pass was the greatest play ever. And the best part about it is that I think that he had a misassignment, and so did Gamble. They both, Dias trust about that play. They both ran the wrong route. You know, it was supposed to go to Ben Hartsock on like a little, you know, a Jim Tressel special 3-yard tight end crossing pattern. And, you know, Benny ran his route and he was open, and Craig took the shot to Jangling. And it was, again, they both had a misassignment. You watch that play, Chris Gamble, when Jenkins catches the ball like 2 seconds, it was literally right next to him. And, you know, with wide receiver, you know, route concepts, there's supposed to be some spacing and whatever. They both got MAs on the play, which was amazing. But yeah, like I said, this kid, he's got zip, he's got poise. You can tell he's been coached up. And again, it'll be scary to see this kid in a year. Because he's 6'3", 220 now. Does he get to 6'5"? Does he get to 230, 6'5", 230? And you know, the prolific, you know, gunslinger quarterback. But yeah, like I said, this guy, he's got an easy throwing motion, man. And like I said, Bill the Bank Green, you know, when you're standing next to Ryan Montgomery, who's an absolute hoss and is a freak athlete, great basketball player, and Tavion St. Clair is also a great athlete, and you're the best one, like that's saying something. Because Bank, you know, the thing about Bank, man, is he doesn't mince words, man. And if a guy stinks, he'll say he stinks. And, you know, and this kid, you know, getting that offer from Ryan Day, I mean, that even trumps what Bill's evaluations are. Because if Ohio State's going on this kid, he's this young. He's not even a sophomore. He's about to be a sophomore in August in school. It kind of tells you all you need to know. Nevada, I don't know how many freshmen we've offered at quarterback that have panned out and turned out great. Are there any you can think of? I don't know if I can remember offering kids this early. Maybe I think we might have offered Ryan Montgomery about this time.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, again, and it's you know, pretty much a recent thing because, you know, really when you talk about freshman offers, yeah, you're getting into Danny Clark, you know, Montgomery. There really haven't been many, and no, they haven't panned out because these things are tough to pan out. But it's like trying to, you know, project like a fifth grade hockey player to Ohio State or something like that. It's darn near impossible to kind of do it with freshmen and trying to figure it out if they're going to be any good in 2 or 3 years. But if there's a kid that I'm betting on this kid because, like you said, he's well coached. He's got all the intangibles, and like you said, Ryan Day, you know, in terms of being able to evaluate quarterback play, and I mean, who are you going to pick that's better than him? So, you know, there's no better endorsement you can get than an offer to a freshman from Ryan Day. So that tops the chart in my books.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nevada, the question everybody wants to know is, since we're talking about young phenoms, if you're Ryan Day, would you offer baby Gronk?
Baby Gronk, oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah, that's it's clearly the most disturbing story of the year and disgusting. And I don't even want to give it any airtime on this whole thing because the whole thing. I hate the concept of people being famous just to be famous. I hate the social media adventure where the stupider you are and the more outrageous you are that you can, you know, make money and do stuff for doing it. And I hate everything about that story. So yeah, to me, that's like NIL. It's like if I was talking about 12 hours of NIL to you listeners, that's what baby Gronk is to me.
So what you're saying is you'd give baby Gronk an NIL deal and do a podcast about it for 12 hours? Because that would be that'd be big time content right there.
Yeah, like a live stream.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be that parent. Again, I think it's sad what's going on with that kid, but it is what it is. Well, we're gonna wrap this thing up. Nevada, 2026 Phenom quarterback, baby. We got him. Hopefully that Ryan Day and Corey Dennis can keep the heat on and get this kid locked in. Any final thoughts? Elite 11 tonight. Big late night on the West Coast. I know that it's funny because a lot of that stuff, you know, when people are going to bed is right in the middle of the workout because it's a 3-hour time difference. But what are you excited to see for workout number 2 for the Elite 11 tonight?
Just watching 11th place Jaden Davis versus Aaron Nolan. You know, that's going to be the matchup that I'm going to be watching, and you know, 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. So they're already getting going. You need to head over there to Redondo Union High School. If you're over there, say hello to Nevada Buck, and I'll have a report tomorrow. And then again tomorrow, from 10 to 2 p.m. at Redondo Union. So either time, if you're there, say hello, and we'll do a little Elite 11 evaluation.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know what Nevada Buck looks like, look for the guy with the large box of Captain Crunch cereal, large bowl, mixing bowl, large spoon, and like a half a gallon of skim milk, or is it whole milk? And you will find Nevada Buck immediately, correct?
That is correct. I'll probably be wearing the Captain Crunch head as well.
That's perfect. You got the hat. We'll get you the Buckeye Scoop Captain Crunch hat. So perfect. I love it. What a great end. Appreciate you guys as always. We got to evaluate a Phenom. We got to take your questions. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Big camp coverage on BuckeyeScoop.com. We have interviews from the camp today. Some of the guys are the risers, the Phenoms. Bill Bank Green was on ground with Joe Drame, killing it coverage-wise. We have a huge thread on that. We have a huge thread on the Elite 11. Tune in to all of that on BuckeyeScoop.com, the #1 source for inside information for Ohio State football. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please click like, click subscribe, and also if you enjoy our live content, click that bell, and you'll get a notification when we go live. As always, can't thank you guys enough. We appreciate you. Comment down below who will finish higher, Aaron Nolan or Dylan Raiola. We'll know on Sunday night. They'll crown the champion of the Elite 11. Aaron Nolan is killing it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes the rest of the way. So we appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Time to get on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys enjoy this, you're like, man, I wish to keep rolling. Join BuckeyeScoop.com because it never stops rolling on BuckeyeScoop.com. And we're on there all day, every day. And it is going to be killer as we get this coverage for these camps, this Elite 11 stuff. So appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.